Hey everybody, it's Josh from Walnut Ridge. I also have Sean here. We're gonna pull him into the service video on Friday that we normally do because of some of the service stuff we're gonna talk about. I always talk about maintenance and things that you need to do, and I really don't always try and sell you product, but there's no getting around that some of the maintenance that you do, you have to have product. You're gonna have to buy some stuff. And so we've got Sean to help guide us to the right products for the jobs that we want to do. So first thing I want to talk about is it's springtime now, or at least it's going to be here very soon. It's starting to warm up. People are thinking about camping, at least locally here in Indiana. That's going to be coming up soon. A lot of people may already be out in other parts of the country, but you're going to need to get your camper ready to go. And we talk a lot about maintenance on the outside and on your wheels and all that stuff, but we don't talk a lot about the water system inside. And so thought this would be a good opportunity to talk about what you need to do to have that ready to go for this summer. So one of the first things I want to talk about is we need to sanitize the water lines inside your freshwater lines, the lines that you're going to drink out of and take showers and cook with. So a lot of times those get neglected, and we run antifreeze to them in the wintertime, and then we just go flush them out, but that's not necessarily getting them completely clean. So a good idea would be to run Spring Fresh, or well, that's one brand, or just some kind of tank and waterline flushing product. So we have Starbrite here, which is a good product for us. And the way this works is that you actually pour all of this into your tank, and then you mix it with water, and then you're going to do it the same way that you would kind of winterize. You're just going to turn the pump on, you're going to run all the faucets and stuff. This is a product that really you could just keep with you in the camper to use even periodically through the year. You may get to a campground that has worse water than maybe the one before, and you kind of want to get that flushed out, not leave it sit in your water lines until your next camping trip. So it's a good idea to keep some of this stuff. We usually have this in stock. And then the water shock concentrate I'm not super familiar with. Is this more of a kind of when you've got like some bad odors that you can't really get rid of?
Yeah, so fresh tank, more for the actual water, like in the holding tank.
Okay, so maybe you get somewhere, like our campground's pretty bad about the rotten egg smell, and you get that a lot in water heaters because they're anti-rot also, so people complain about that. So this would be a good thing to run in and then run it through your water lines. So you could start with that, getting everything flushed out. The next thing we'll move over here is your holding tanks. Believe it or not, we need to do some maintenance and some treatment on the holding tank. Most people, the first thing they think of is just chemicals for the tank, right? So your normal, the blue stuff that we normally have in, you drop in a pouch or whatever, and you're good to go. That's not always the case, right?
Right. If you want to do other things, like if your slides or your seals are not lubricated right, or your valves are sticking, or if you're having residual come down from the drain.
Yeah. So big issue that we get phone calls a lot about is when you get to the dump station, you got to take your cap off, and you get a handful of unpleasant stuff. Sometimes that can be as simple as something stuck in the valve itself. Sometimes it could be a bad valve. Sometimes it could be the seal. There's rubber seals that go in between the blade part where that slides in and out, and so that stuff actually needs to be treated as well. So if your camper is older, or maybe been using it a long time, or sometimes it sits for long periods of time without being used, that stuff can start to dry out, and it can be difficult to clean. So we have a couple of chemicals that you can use.
Yeah, so that's this is more of a seal conditioner here, so for the rubber seals, and then this is actually for the drain valve. So if you're having issues with the drain valve sticking, this is something you can use, and there's a couple different ways to use it. If you're wanting to actually, like if you're having specific problems with the valve sticking, then you use about a quarter of a bottle, mix it with some water, drive the trailer around, and then you just go crazy on the valves while you're draining it. And the toilet seal conditioner, it's the same thing, just conditions that toilet seal, and then all the other seals like on the back side of the valve.
So when you talk about going crazy with the valve, so basically what we're going to do is we're going to already have our tanks emptied, and then we're going to put some of that in, mix some water. The instructions on the back will tell you how much, and it depends on how severe it is. But if you got one that's sticking really bad, you obviously don't want to just open and close your valve because then everything's just going to dump out. So that's why there's like stuff like this that we talk about all the time to service customers about just getting one of these to add on, because this is just one extra, all it is a valve, and it just goes right on the end of your sewer hookup that you have coming out of the camper. You can put just an extra valve on to keep closed. So now you know you're not going to get surprised when you go to dump. So you actually can pull your black tank or your gray tank valve open, and then you have this extra valve here that's going to keep all that in place until you're ready for it to, you know, evacuate out. But you could have this on, have it closed, and then work those valves with some of that treatment in there, because it's actually going to hit both sides of it. If you think about it, if you're leaving the valve closed and you're pouring the chemicals in and treating it, you're only treating the inside of it. Because then when you get done and you go to dump, you're flushing all that out. You're not really treating the outer seal that's against that too. So that's something to think about. If you can have something on here to block that. I guess if you're brave, you can just leave your cap on and be ready to, you know, do it. I don't think I'd want to do that. But so that's the kind of stuff that not only the chemical stuff for the breakdown of the waste and all that and the smell, but you need to take care of the valves, because that's a problem you don't want to have. The smell stuff is kind of easier to take care of. They have great chemicals out there that can take care of that kind of quickly, and some of it gets really strong and concentrated. But the valves, we really you got to think about lubing those and treating those. They're rubber seals. That's the same thing we talk about on the outside with like slide seals and stuff. You have to keep those seals conditioned so that they're working properly. And actually that's the next thing I wanted to kind of go over, and we can wrap up just sort of that part of getting your camper ready to go for this spring. So we will head over to slide seal stuff.
So for the rubber seals around the outside of your slide outs, black seals, this is the conditioner you want to use on those. It's going to keep them lubricated. Usually I suggest to run the slide in and out a couple times, that way it gets on both sides of those seals, and then you're going to be good for a couple months. It's just going to keep those from dry rotting.
Super easy to put on, actually. You just go out there, it kind of foams up and you spray it on, and all you do is just spray it all the way down it. Don't forget to go across the top. Little difficult across the top on ones that have slide toppers on there, so it takes a little more work to get to those. Sometimes we'll put something on a rod or something so we can kind of spread it out. But basically, you spray that stuff on, it foams up, you let it kind of.
It's got a pressurized nozzle on it too, so it shoots.
Yeah, it's pretty good, and that's all you got to do. There's some other stuff too, like the other lube stuff for the mechanism. You're gonna have to look and see what kind of slide out system you have. The old ram driven. With a ram, and it's got gears and a crossbar. That stuff you lubricate on the bottom. The new ones with like cable driven slides, a little different on that. You're not going to go spraying this stuff on your cables, and the gearbox that's up there is already full of oil. So just make sure you look at what slide out system that you're working with. But the most important thing is probably going to be keeping those rubber seals conditions that prevent leaks. And then one other thing that, sorry, I'll cut in front of you here. We just need to mention really quickly on getting the outside stuff ready to go for spring. A lot of people go out there and wash it, have it, you know, looking good on the outside and ready to go, but a lot of people neglect the roof, and so it's very important to actually get up and clean the roof. That's actually going to help cut down your black streaks on the side, is if you keep the roof clean. We have some great products for cleaning roof, and then we have some for conditioning also. So which ones would we use for that?
Normally, if you're wanting to do a wash and a condition, this is the product I would suggest for you here. Depending on what size of trailer you have, it depends on how much you're going to use. But you dilute it with water. I believe the ratio is 1:1, and you just wash off the sides of your camper after you're done with it. But
that's important.
Yeah,
the sides really well.
But yeah, it's a washer and a conditioner, so it's going to condition the roof.
So you could use that more often to kind of keep it conditioned. You could periodically use that through the year. If you have one that hasn't had anything done to it and you got to go a little more extensive, there's some other products that are a little bit more labor intensive that you got to put on that we carry. So once you get those on though, then you could go to something like this where you just keep going, keep it up throughout the year periodically. And then if you do get those black streaks down the side, probably some of this stuff that we have here is great for that. Obviously all of it, especially with black streaks, is going to take a little bit of elbow grease to get off of there too though. So hopefully that'll help you get everything ready for this spring to get going on your first few trips. You know, just don't neglect those things while you're up there cleaning the roof. Obviously, you want to look for anything. You know, you never know if you've snagged a tree limb or if something has caught that rubber or whatever type of material you have. And then most importantly, all of the sealants around your vents and everything that's up there. The trim and all that stuff, those are going to be the most important things you need to make sure are well taken care of for that thing to last for a long time. So Sean, thanks a lot for helping me out on the service video this week, and hopefully that'll get everybody going for a fun camping season this year and not start off the season with some service issues you got to take care of. So I will see you next time. Thanks.